Ladies and gents, this is the moment you waited for. Whoa! Turns out I don't need surgery for my foot.
Was that the tune? Was that the melody?
I don't think so. I'm Erin.
I'm Tom.
And this is Baby's First Watchlist, the podcast that just might be ending my foot saga today.
Yeah, maybe.
And then I wrote, talk about foot.
Okay, well, you have the floor.
I went to the doctor after I got my MRI because at the previous appointment, my orthopedic doctor said, it looks like from this x-ray, you don't have one of your like tarsometatarsal tendons. Like it's gone and you need an MRI to prove that. She's like, who knows? Like maybe it'll be fine. And I was crying and she goes, yeah, I'd be crying too if I got that news. She said it in like a nicer way, ish. And so then I went in and it took a really long time. I heard her. I didn't hear what she was saying, but the patient in the next room, I heard their voices. That patient would not stop talking. So it was like a half an hour wait. And I'm just waiting and waiting. And every second I'm like, oh man, that's going to take so long for me to schedule this surgery. I got all this stuff coming up. And so then she came in and she's like, well, there's some good news. You don't need surgery. And I was like, well, that's the best.
That's the end of the statement. That's it.
I don't care about anything else. And she's like, no, you have like a really bad injury. And I was like, okay. And she's like, no, like, you know how there's different steps of how injured you could be? Like, this is the one that is like half a step below a fracture. Like, you were so close to fracturing your foot in
close,
like so many positions,
but
and
so far
spots.
away.
And I was like, so close is not like, I'm good. And so it's a brain contusion. It's a bone contusion, meaning a
deep bruise.
deeply bruised bone.
And that was medical hour.
She said it's like if you drop an apple on the ground and you pick it up and it looks fine, but underneath it's like rotten.
That's deep.
That's my foot. So there you go.
Well, guess what? The tagline for this movie was "The impossible comes true."
That was me. I literally am not joking with you. I said this to Tom and I don't take it back. This was one of the best moments of my life. Was finding out I didn't need surgery. There was a weight. Like it was like my soul just like ascended out of my body.
Charlie.
Like I literally, I'm telling you, like I have never felt a lightness that I felt when that happened.
Okay.
And people were like, "Oh, what about the moment you gave birth?"
You don't remember that.
Number one, I don't remember. Number two, I don't understand
You're
why
in
people
severe
say
pain.
that's the best moment of your life. Like that hurt really bad. Do you know what didn't hurt really bad?
When she said your foot's not broken.
Bingo. Okay, so today we are talking about 2017's The Greatest Showman. So they on Wikipedia call it a biographical musical drama film, and I feel like only like 1.5 of those words is true.
Musical and drama?
No, musical's true and film it's like
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this is Michael Gracey's directorial debut. And like you were like, oh, he's kind of like a visual effects guy. He barely did any of that too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he's just like, I'm going to direct this.
He's a guy. Hugh Jackman said he wanted to work with him. And he was like, oh, you know, people just say that. And then he got the script for The Greatest Showman. And he was like, all right.
It's kind of wild because the rest of this like crew is intense, like really well known and nominated people.
I don't know this for a fact, but I would venture to say that Hugh Jackman rounded up the gang. You know?
Okay, so maybe. Apparently, this guy, Michael Gracey, is slated to direct an adaptation of Naruto.
Naruto?
Yeah. What's that?
It's an anime. I never got into it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I feel like you would like that.
Maybe. I'm not into anime like that, though.
Oh, okay. Could have fooled me.
Why? It's not like I'm sitting around watching freaking Crunchyroll all day.
I don't even know what that means.
That's the streaming service for anime.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's a cute name. He also is slated, allegedly, to direct an adaptation of the YA fantasy book Daughter of Smoke and Bone, which is a very popular, like, trilogy-ish thing. The movie was written by two people. Number one, Jenny Bix, who most people would recognize her name because it pops up on different Sex and the City episodes as a writer. And she also wrote What a Girl Wants.
The song?
No.
Oh.
The movie. The Amanda Bynes movie.
Oh, okay.
And then the other writer is Bill Condon. So I was like, I know him. And then you're like, well, he wrote Gods and Monsters and Chicago. He won for screenplay for Gods and Monsters, which I've never seen. And he was nominated for Chicago. But that's not what I knew him from.
I know what it is.
What is it?
The movies that he directed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he directed Dreamgirls. He directed the last two Twilight movies, so the two Breaking Dawn
big ones,
movies.
the good ones.
Not the good ones. And he directed the live action Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
That's what I know him from. The cinematographer, Seamus McGarvey.
McGarvey?
Yeah.
Seamus McGarvey.
He also shot a lot of big movies. So he was Oscar nominated twice. He worked a lot with Joe Wright. And so he was nominated for shooting Atonement and Anna Karenina, which I was so excited I spelled it right. But then I thought about it, and you can just think Karen Nina.
Yeah, but with one N. They connect the N.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a before and after. Karen Nina.
Yeah. I'm sure that's how a lot of people pronounce it if you don't know what it is.
Karenina is maybe how I would say it.
Okay.
He also was a cinematographer for We Need to Talk About Kevin.
Really?
Yeah. Which was actually a very interestingly shot movie.
It's a good movie.
Okay, so the music. There's 4 people involved in the music, and they're all like big-ish. So one of them is John Debney. So I was like, all right, I'm going to write one thing about each person.
Okay.
But then, like, I got caught up. So John...
That's me with trivia every week.
Yeah, John Debney has one Oscar nomination for the music for The Passion of the Christ, okay? But he also did a lot with Disney, but also, like, a lot with Disney that's not what you would think. So he did a lot of the nighttime shows in the Disney parks.
Okay.
So he did the...
Phantasmic.
He didn't do that, but that sort of thing. And this is like my biggest, like, oh wow, you know how at the beginning of Disney films it's that it shows like the cast, whatever, and then it's like when you wish, but it's like dee 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 dee, and then it's like that, right?
That's him.
He did the arrangement for all the movies between 1985 and 2006.
Wow,
that's so interesting.
He also did Cats and Dogs and Snow Dogs.
I love Snow Dogs. All right, so Joseph Trapanese also did the music, and he is also known for doing the music for Straight Outta Compton.
Wow.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
And then the other two are like a team.
Yeah,
Benji
Pasek.
It's Benj.
I think it's Benj.
Benj Pasek and Justin Paul, who are also known for La La Land.
They were coming right off La La Land after,
which is
before
like,
this.
yeah. And Dear Evan Hansen.
Yeah, I know them. I've heard of them before.
Yeah, those were the two that I was like, oh yeah. So starring Hugh Jackman, Michelle Williams, Zac Efron, Zendaya, and Rebecca Ferguson, The Greatest Showman allegedly tells the life story of P.T. Barnum. There's like a whole section on how inaccurate it was.
There is an actual heading on Wikipedia that just says historical inaccuracies. Sometimes it'll say like historical accuracy and it'll give you kind of the competing points. This one says historical inaccuracies.
Basically, like some stuff was like technically accurate. Like, for example, P.T. Barnum existed.
Correct. And that was his name.
Like the whole thing with Jenny Lind.
Never happened. Jenny Lind's real.
Jenny Lind's real, and he was her manager for a little bit, but like it wasn't even like a platonic relationship. Like they didn't even get along.
Yeah.
So like none of it was true. Also, he owned a slave.
Yes.
That was his first.
Yes.
Like he said that she.
P.T. Barnum got the softball treatment in this movie.
Okay, so apparently this woman, he bought her.
Yes.
And he's like, I worked her to the bone, and he claimed that she was 161 years old and raised George Washington to get money.
Yeah.
Later
That's
on,
the kind of like
and I'm like,
trash
why
this
are we
guy was.
making a movie out of this guy?
Hugh Jackman read 37 books about P.T. Barnum.
And he's like, yep, this is the guy.
Yeah. and we're gonna make it as like family friendly as possible.
Now he was also a very political man. He was involved in politics, and he actually took an anti-slavery stance later in life.
Yeah, he became liberal.
Which I mean,
no,
it's hard
you can't.
to, like,
no,
you can't do that because he still owned slaves.
Correct.
So I don't like. Why are we making a movie about him?
Because it's fun.
And they're like, "Whoa!"
In the circus. Right.
Like, I'm just like, no, dude. Also,
and they're like, a million dreams.
Where's Bailey?
Bailey, I mean, Carlisle, Zac Efron's character, has elements of Bailey and some other guy.
And he never existed.
Carlisle, no.
Okay.
I don't think. But I know that the relationship was made up for the movie. It's not real.
So I'm just like, all right, why are we making this?
The majority of this movie is not real. But there's references to things that are real.
Yeah.
Like in the background
I'm
and
confused
stuff.
on why it's called biographical. Anyway.
Because P.T. Barnum is the main character.
The first time that they thought of this film, two producers, I don't think this is true. There's no way. I feel like this whole thing is like a sham. Okay, allegedly.
It would be very Barnum-esque.
The film was first thought of during the Oscars in 2009, the Oscar ceremony, when two of the producers, who will later produce The Greatest Showman, they said to themselves, wow, Hugh Jackman reminds me of P.T. Barnum. Who's thinking of P.T. Barnum? And
what was he doing at the 2009 Oscars?
I think he was dancing and singing. And I'm like, but did P.T. Barnum ever do that? So I don't think that's true, but that's on Wikipedia. And then they're like, yeah, wow, we're gonna make that. And Hugh Jackman was like, yeah, that sounds amazing. And then it took like a million years. And then they made it. And then allegedly they also had to sing in front of producers to get the film greenlit. And so they had Jeremy Jordan, who's a very famous Broadway actor, sing, like, pre-record all of like Hugh Jackman's parts, or maybe he was there or whatever, because Hugh Jackman had vocal issues.
He had skin cancer too on his nose,
and it was something vocal cordy. But then Hugh Jackman apparently during the last song
belted it out.
He was like, "This is the greatest show."
Yeah,
and they were like, "Oh my gosh, we have to make this movie."
And his nose started bleeding because of his
is that true?
His thing. That's apparently what the story was.
I believe that, actually, that story. I don't believe they saw him at the Oscars and they said, you know what? Out of nowhere, I'm just thinking of P.T. Barnum.
Unless
right
they
now.
were thinking about a P.T. Barnum biopic and they saw him and they were like, that's the guy. That's the only way I could see it being real.
Okay. Anyway, filming took place in late 2016 and the premiere was December 8th, 2017. Weirdly, the
Oscar
premiere happened on the Queen Elizabeth II ship.
Because they visit the Queen in the movie.
It's just so random.
They did visit the Queen in real life.
The movie is so random.
Barnum and Tom Thumb, the guy he's with, visited the Queen in real life.
I don't care.
I'm just telling you. That's why.
So it was released on, and this makes me seem like I loved this movie.
Oh, this movie's amazing.
Let me just be
this
clear.
Movie's incredible.
It's awful. Kind of. But it's amazing. Kind of. You know what I mean?
It's the story's terrible, the songs are great.
It was released to the public right before Christmas in 2017. The Greatest Showman was a commercial success, making $435 million on an $84 million budget. It is the 14th highest grossing film to never make it to number one at the box office. It peaked at 4.
Wow.
And it was 4, but like it was 4 for a long time and then went down to 5 and then went to 4 again. It was one of those.
It was a word of mouth movie, but it never quite hit the heights of like a one of the other ones that we saw.
Yeah.
That we were,
like a Pitch Perfect or whatever. Yeah. So it was behind which ones? Star Wars The Last Jedi, Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle, and Pitch Perfect 3. It's hard to go up against the
3 established franchises. Was that the first Jumanji?
It might have been the first Jumanji, but it's still not
Jumanji,
the first Jumanji.
And it's The Rock, and was Kevin Hart in that one? Jack Black. Like, yeah, it's tough.
So it is also the 5th highest grossing live action musical of all time.
5th highest grossing live action musical. I'm assuming all 3 Pitch Perfects are there.
Like stuff like
and
that.
And then something else.
Like Beauty and the Beast. That kind of thing.
Live action. Like Les Mis, maybe.
Something. I don't even know. Critically, Showman wasn't as much of a resounding success. It has a 56% on Rotten Tomatoes, but it does have an A cinema score for audiences. And then I just read there were like a million historical inaccuracies. There just were. It was nominated for 1 Oscar, Best Original Song for This Is Me. That song did win the Globe for Best Original Song, but it was also for the Globes nominated for Best Film Musical Comedy and Best Actor for Hugh Jackman Musical or Comedy. There are rumors about both a Broadway adaptation and a sequel, but neither has really come to fruition. And then I just saw randomly, like last year, Michelle Williams was like, "Oh, I would love to do a sequel." And then
Why?
she's like, "It's a movie that makes people happy."
Yeah, okay.
And then
Fair.
Hugh Jackman was like, "Oh, well, you know me. I never make sequels."
Right, because he's been
And then he's like, "I'll stop after 9."
because he's been Wolverine for 1,000 years.
Exactly. So,
It looks like at the time it was number 5, but it's been passed since then.
oh, okay.
So it was number 5. In front of it was Les Mis, La La Land, Mamma Mia, and Beauty and the Beast.
What about Pitch Perfect?
Not in front of it.
Weird.
Since then, Lion King is number 1. Aladdin is now number 3. Bohemian Rhapsody is number 4. And yeah,
Okay.
Showman's number 8 now.
Well, this is
438 million.
It's a big number.
It made a little bit more than A Star Is Born.
Oh, wow.
And Grease is number 10.
Love that movie. Grease is the word. We got to do Grease soon. That's a summary movie. It's a back to school movie, too.
Sure. Great.
That's it. Just give us a summary really fast.
All right, the best part. The film opens with Phineas Taylor P.T. Barnum, played by Hugh Jackman, joining his circus troupe in a song, The Greatest Show, performing a dazzling show to an enthusiastic crowd. However, we cut, and it's Barnum as a young boy.
Which I called when I first saw this movie.
In the 1800s.
I literally was making...
You were like...
Wait, no, I was making a cake in the... Like, on the dining room table.
In our condo. I think you were in the kitchen.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So I was in the kitchen. I couldn't even see it.
Yeah.
And I'm like hearing it, and I'm like, it's gonna like zoom out, and it's gonna be him as a kid imagining
him
this,
thinking what he's gonna be in the future.
and then literally 5 seconds later, that's
yeah,
what
I
happened.
was screaming. I was like, "You're right." Barnum and his Taylor father work for the Howlett family, and Barnum falls for the Howlett's daughter, Charity. One day, P.T. makes Charity laugh and spit out her tea, prompting her father to smack Barnum across the face and forbid him from ever going near her.
And that's exactly what the movie does. It's just so over the top for no reason.
Yes.
Like it goes 100 for no reason.
One of the most heavy-handed movies I've ever seen.
Yeah. I said I hate anytime there's not singing.
Against Mr. Howlett's wishes, P.T. and Charity develop a close friendship through the song A Million Dreams. Even as Charity is forced to go to finishing school, which is essentially like etiquette school for rich people. I wrote for the Rick instead of for the rich. The two write letters to one another and eventually reunite as adults, where Barnum proposes to Charity, now played by Michelle Williams.
Underused as normal.
Barnum works for a trading company until he gets fired because their trading vessel sank to the bottom of the ocean. One thing I will say about this movie, and you'll hear it here, is that they try to make it like Barnum is just unlucky, like that everything happens to him.
Yeah.
He's never the problem. Oh, the ship sank to the bottom of the ocean. Oh, the girl kisses him later. It's like everything happens to him, and he doesn't do anything wrong.
It's like, wow, why does this keep happening? Maybe it's because you're actually bad.
Barnum goes home to Charity and their daughters, Caroline and Helen, and he brings a spinning lamp or a wishing machine for Caroline's birthday. Charity and the girls all make wishes, and Barnum gets the idea to go to the bank for a $10,000 loan to open up a museum devoted to oddities.
Again, there's like there's one thing of background of like when he was a kid, someone who was like
kind of weird looking.
Gave him something, was nice to him. And so then he's like, wow, I'm going to make like the most offensive thing ever.
Yes. The museum fails to attract business, and most people reject the idea. So Barnum scours town for unique individuals and finds a dwarf named Charles Stratton, a bearded woman named Letty Lutz, an obese man called Lord of Leeds, a hair-covered man referred to as Dog Boy, and more.
I can't.
Although initially viewed as freaks, Barnum manages to have them put on musical numbers that win over crowds every night to the song Come Alive.
Come alive, and the women. Yeah, the song slap in this movie.
Despite
dreaming with your eyes wide open.
Despite the fact that he's unimpressed, critic James Gordon Bennett respects the audience's enthusiasm and inspires Barnum to rename his show P.T. Barnum's Circus.
What was it called before?
I don't know. The circus starts to bring in some profit. I think it was like Barnum's Museum of Oddities or like some weird
Which
nonsense.
is kind of a like
Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Yeah.
The circus starts to bring in some profit, and Barnum moves his family into a mansion.
Literally the biggest.
Immediately.
It's like literally the like Newport Breakers.
And it's like in a few weeks.
Yeah. He's like, oh my God, I have like gold everywhere now.
He puts Caroline in ballet school, but Caroline gets made fun of for being in a circus family.
Oh my God.
Barnum later meets a playwright named Philip Carlyle, played by Zac Efron.
Oh, he's a playwright?
Yeah, remember he's at the play and then he goes up to him afterwards and he's like, "Oh, you wrote this play?" And Zac Efron turns to him and he goes, "Yeah, refunds are at the main ticket office."
I love Zac Efron.
He approaches Carlyle with the opportunity to join his circus in the bar with the song "The Other Side."
Yeah, I like
which
that.
Which is a romp. Great bartender.
Don't you? I don't know any of the words to any of the songs.
Carlyle agrees on the condition that he get 10% of the profits, which seems way too little. If he's going to be like funding this whole thing, that's way too little.
Shark Tank.
Yeah. I mean, he should be, what's the thing that Mr. Wonderful always does? He's like, I'm going to need like 8% in perpetuity.
Oh, yeah. It's like, well, first of all, I'm going to do 10%, but then I also want a 3-cent profit on every ticket until I get my entire investment back. And then it goes down to 1.5 cents per ticket in perpetuity. And Mark is like, don't take that deal.
And everybody else is out and he's like, you want a deal or not?
He's like, I don't know. Nobody else seems to want to do it. I own you in perpetuity. He's like, oh my God, don't take that deal.
Anyway, that was not this situation. They just agreed on the first offer.
Yeah.
Carlyle gets the group invited to England to meet Queen Victoria, who makes a joke about Charles Stratton being short. And when he says she's not so tall either, Victoria laughs. It's great stuff here.
Like truly
great stuff.
The best and worst scene I've ever. Anytime they're not singing, I'm like, this is the worst written thing ever. But then I'm like, screenplay's kind of tight though. Like I don't know why I love this movie so much.
Later, Barnum and Carlyle meet noted opera singer Jenny Lind, played by Rebecca Ferguson, and invite her to perform for the show so she gains worldwide fame.
Again, it's like so random. You called her Little Mix.
Yeah, because they were like, because she's so huge.
She's huge in Europe,
and nobody knows who she is overseas in the United States.
I'm a big Little Mix fan. They're my favorite Peloton people.
When they're in rides.
Yeah.
Jenny accepts, and back in the States, she performs before a large crowd singing Never Enough.
Never enough.
It is funny, you said this too. You said she's an opera singer, but she's singing like
a pop song.
Regular pop song.
Like Kelly Clarkson song, basically.
The crowd, including Carlyle's and Charity's parents, as well as the critic Bennett, loves her.
Why are Charity's parents there? Like it, and she's
I don't
like,
know.
And then her mom's like, "Oh, look, is that my grandchild?" It's like, why would you show up to this random performance when you haven't been around for like 10 years? Makes no sense. Just like Zac Efron's parents being around during it. I'm like, okay.
At the same time, Carlyle finds himself falling for the show's trapeze artist Ann Wheeler, played by Zendaya. After Jenny's performance, Barnum and the others gather with a party, but when the rest of the troupe wants to join, Barnum rebuffs them. They decide not to let this get them down as they embrace who they are, regardless of how they're viewed, with the song This Is Me.
Oh, and the will try and let me down. Hey, hey, hey.
So for some reason, they take this getting shunned from the party and they decide to work harder for Barnum.
And they go, I am brave. I am bruised. I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. That's my foot right now.
Carlyle introduces Anne to his parents, but obviously, because you have to have this storyline in the movie, they disapprove because she's black.
Which is also like, it's just the movie doesn't know what it wants to be.
No, it has no idea.
Like if it wants to tackle social issues
it's
at the time,
softballing this
I
issue.
think that's great.
It's softballing
it's
every single issue.
Totally softballing it.
Yeah. When Anne leaves upset, Carlisle goes to find her in the circus area, and they express their mutual feelings for one another to the song Rewrite the Stars.
Okay, I didn't like it until it kicked in. I'm like, wait, I love this
Listen.
song. Rewrite the stars. And they're like all
Swinging
on a trapeze.
This is the coolest like choreography in the
You
movie.
think so?
Yeah,
it's so
definitely.
good. Well, Zendaya.
Right.
And how cool is it that Zendaya and Zac Efron are love interests and their names start with Z?
Okay. Like
That's-
ZZ Top.
That's just rare.
Yeah, I guess so.
Are ZZ Top's love interests?
I have no comment. Barnum goes on tour with Jenny, leaving Carlisle as the ringmaster with the show. Protesters, meanwhile, continuously gather outside to harass the troupe for their physical differences.
It's just no reason. Like, it's not like
I believe that this is
anything.
what would be happening.
Yeah, but there was nothing
Nothing.
to make you think like, oh wow, there were no protesters for their first 187 performances.
that got Hugh Jackman in a mansion.
Right, but this one, it really does it.
On tour, Jenny develops an attraction to Barnum because, of course, but he remains faithful.
Is that true?
That's what the IMDb plot summary said.
I don't think that that's what's implied.
Jenny gets upset and threatens to quit, but Barnum has her finish the tour until, after one performance, the press snaps a photo of Jenny kissing Barnum before she ultimately quits.
Yeah, it's on stage too in front of everybody.
Yep. Soon after, a brawl breaks out between the troupe and the protesters, so one of the protesters grabs a lantern and throws it at a wall, igniting the theater. Barnum returns home from his tour, and he greets his family when he overhears about the fire.
Perfect timing.
But it's too late. Fire has consumed the building.
But they're like, don't worry, we let the animals loose.
Carlisle runs in to find Anne, but she's already coming out with her brother, who is, what's his name, from Watchmen? Yahya Abdul-Mateen. I don't know if that's how you say his name.
I didn't know that was him.
Yeah.
I love that actor. He's great.
So Barnum looks at his family, and then he decides to run into the burning building to save Carlisle, who he's known for like a couple months maybe.
Anne was not with her brother. Her brother was separate from her. She ran from the side of the building.
Oh, okay. Well, then IMDb plot summary was wrong.
That's why I'm saying like the Jenny Lynn stuff too. I don't know about that.
Okay. Barnum's daughters cry, thinking he's dead, until he emerges with an unconscious Carlisle. Later, Barnum sits outside the remains of the theater when the critic Bennett stops by, saying that the police arrested the arsonists and that another critic, but not him, would have called Barnum Circus a celebration of humanity. He then shows Barnum the newspaper, which has plastered on the front page Jenny's kiss, and Barnum runs home to Charity, who has packed her bags because they're also separately being evicted because they don't have any money left immediately, and she leaves without him. Barnum goes to drink at a bar. Was it the same bar?
Yeah, I think so.
Where the entire troupe finds and confronts him. They tell him that he saw them all as more than freaks and gave them a real family and home, encouraging him to pick himself up and get the troupe back to performing.
Honestly,
with the song,
though, he didn't.
From Now On.
Oh, yeah. From now on. And they're like, and we will. Da. I'm like, whoa. But also, I'm like, that is not true.
It just distracts you from all the nonsense in this movie.
Like, he was mean to them.
And
all he cared about was money.
Yes.
And then he was like, oh, I found somebody better. Bye.
Yeah, immediately.
So why are they like, hey?
And he was still getting 90% of the profits.
And now they don't have a job. And so he's like, they're like, oh, man, but you care about us. No, he didn't. Like, what are you talking about?
But you could fill in that plot hole if you have a scene with them being like, listen, I know he was mean to us, but we got to get him back up because this is the best we've been doing.
Didn't happen.
Didn't happen. There's no explanation for it.
They're like, and we will.
Yeah, right. Barnum returns to Charity's childhood home where she's just there for some reason.
Oh, is that when she has
she's
the,
down
like,
at the beach.
And it's the
like the
long
shawl or whatever. Yeah.
Flowing.
Where he apologizes to Charity for chasing fame. Charity says all she wanted was the man she fell in love with, which he's been the same guy the whole movie.
Yeah, he sucks.
Carlisle, who has recovered, offers to provide his shares from profits to restart the circus, but he wants to be a full 50% partner, and Barnum immediately agrees.
Barnum and Carlisle's.
Yes. Doesn't
make sense. Why not just call him Bailey?
I don't know. Maybe it had something to do with the estates and getting the name. I don't know.
Call him Schmally. Barnum and Schmally.
They restart the show in a tent with circus animals and the rest of the troupe with a triumphant performance of The Greatest Show once more. Audiences turn out in droves, and Barnum hands over the role of ringmaster in the middle of the show to Carlisle.
And he goes, this is the greatest show. And then everyone's like, yeah.
It's so he can watch his girls grow up. Carlisle finishes the show and kisses Anne. while Barnum, for some reason, rides an elephant to meet
In
Charity
the snow.
in the snow to meet Charity and the girls. The movie ends with Barnum and Charity watching Caroline perform in the ballet with Helen playing a tree in the background, and Barnum acknowledging that everything he ever wanted,
It's
everything he ever
you
needed, is right in front of him.
And it's like so low. It's everything you ever need. Okay, first
He's
of all,
singing it in his seat.
the sound
He can't be
mixing.
too loud.
Okay, but what about the first scene?
That's different.
I'm like, what? He's like, ladies and gents, this is the moment you're waiting for. I'm like, huh? The sound mixing. I don't know, man. Sometimes I'm like, and also it's on the soundtrack too, because for many years, I think it's probably still on your playlist. And it'll be like, whoa! And they'll be like, ladies and gents. I'm like, why can't we mix, like, have a happy medium? Well, that's The Greatest Showman.
That's it.
I mean, love that movie, to be honest
incredible.
with you.
It's incredible.
Okay, so I said here, probably like 15 minutes in the movie, at what point is Michelle Williams going to say enough is enough?
I wrote something very similar, which was, I just want to know what your reaction would be if I came home one day and told you I bought a museum of curiosities without telling you.
First of all, I would never marry a man
who would buy a museum of curiosities.
Just wouldn't happen. He'd be like, hey, I'm like wasting all of our money we don't even have
Correct.
to do this. But then again, it is the 1800s, so like women, I feel like, weren't able to be like, wait, no, because women couldn't like get bank accounts.
He didn't seem like that type of husband, though.
No, not at all. I just think that there's maybe just a societal standard that like Michelle Williams wouldn't be like, no.
Right.
But I wouldn't marry him. Also because he's annoying.
He is pretty annoying.
He's annoying. He's mean. He doesn't really get it. He just doesn't get it. He leaves his kids for like a million years. And the girls are
Constantly.
like, Daddy! It's like, no.
Yeah. It's like she's been toiling away with her children.
Now, they make it seem like fun. Like they're having a food fight with his empty chair there.
Right.
So it's like, oh, look, they're still great.
But everything also revolves around him.
Why is
it's
this
like
movie so pro Barnum?
Because Jackman read 37 books about him. You probably like somebody after you read 37 books about him.
Another question I had.
You have to like somebody to read 37 books about him.
Here's another question I had. Why did I think this movie was 2.5 hours long?
Because it felt like it.
It feels like it. Friends, it feels like it.
In a good way.
Yeah. I love this movie. So yeah, totally.
I'm exhilarated for 2.5 hours.
I'm doing awful at these questions because my next one was, I just don't think I understand why this movie uses his real name when it's not right.
Well, Hugh Jackman said that...
It's not even called Barnum.
Well, Barnum called himself the Greatest Showman on Earth. That was the original title, The Greatest Showman on Earth.
Yeah.
And the producer, or whoever it was, cut to Greatest Showman.
Why are you not then like using his most famous quote?
Because they want him to sound like a good guy and not somebody who would say there's a sucker born every minute.
Interesting. But again, then why use him? Why?
Because...
Make Schmarnum.
Well, I think it's because it gets people in the theater. Like, people will go see something if it's allegedly based on P.T. Barnum, and nobody knows any better. You know?
Yeah.
Like, do you know anything about P.T. Barnum besides what you just read on Wikipedia? I don't.
I mean, I knew that I was like...
Other
who?
than, like, the circus is garbage.
Yeah, I don't like circuses.
And Barnum and Bailey closed in 2017, the same year this movie came out.
Just a few months prior, 7 months prior or
Yeah.
something. Okay. So my next thing is, what is the worst song in this movie?
I think it has to be the Jenny Lind song.
No.
What song is it?
It's the one that Michelle Williams sings randomly.
Oh, yeah. That one is so forgettable.
Exactly.
It's just the one where she's, like, pining...
Yeah,
for
but
her
there is
lost
that
love.
cool scene where like you think you see his shadows in the curtains, but it's not.
Because he's never there.
That's right. Wow. All right. Well, what's the best song?
But he's never there because he's out providing for their
No,
children.
I don't believe that. As they're
That's
getting
what-
evicted, as they're about to get evicted.
That's what the movie's trying to say.
Wrong. Not that you're wrong, but it's just bad.
Because everything happens to Barnum, remember?
It's weird. What's your favorite song besides all of them?
Well, The Greatest Show is my favorite song.
This is the greatest show.
It's great. It's the best.
It's so fun.
Yeah, it hits always. There's a reason they played it twice. You know?
Yeah.
My second favorite song is the one with him and Zac Efron in the bar.
I love that one. Don't you wanna get away?
And
that
then,
song is so good.
And then third, I was gonna have you rank the best ones anyway, so I'm just gonna rank my top 3. That's my number 1 and my number 2. My number 3, it's tough. It's either This Is Me, which is great, or it's A Million Dreams.
I hate A Million
A
Dreams.
Million Dreams is so good.
Every night.
It's so good.
Okay.
What are yours?
I don't remember any of the songs.
All right, I'll
rank them. I'll rank them. Run through them.
Okay.
Do you like the soundtrack?
You're going to rank them as it goes? So you're going to be like, oh, no, this one's worse than the other one?
Yes.
Okay, so we're not going to have any idea what the ranking is.
And then at the end, I'll pick my top.
Okay. Let me get to the soundtrack. The Greatest Showman soundtrack. All right. The Greatest Show.
10 out of 10.
A Million Dreams.
4 out of 10. But I loved it.
Come Alive.
Oh, 10 out of 10. No, 9 out of 10.
The Other Side.
10 out of 10. Wait, which one's that?
It says Hugh Jackman and Zac Efron.
Yeah, that's one at the bar.
That's the bar one, yeah.
To the other side.
Never Enough, which is the Jenny Lind.
8 out of 10.
This Is Me.
10 out of 10.
Rewrite the Stars, which is the Zac Efron Zendaya one.
8.5 out of 10.
Tightrope, which is the Michelle Williams one.
Oh, 3 out of 10.
Never Enough Reprise by...
Yeah, that's when she's sad.
When Jenny Lind is sad?
When she's about to kiss him on stage.
Oh, yeah.
That gives, I don't know, like a 7?
And then From Now On.
Oh, yeah, that's a 10 out of 10, too.
So it's mostly 10s out of 10.
I mean, yeah. So my favorite, if I'm going 3, 2, 1, my 3 is Greatest Show.
Wrong.
My 2 is Other Side. And my number 1 is This Is Me. And the reason why...
Wrong.
Is because I never thought that, but then when
It was so perfect in the movie.
When I'm Pelotoning and they do that song, I like cry.
You're like, look out, because here I come. And you're like, let's go.
And then there's the quiet part.
Out of the saddle.
Yeah. And then there's the quiet part, and it's like where you have your break. And then you're doing that, and then you've got like Christine, who's like, I know it's hard sometimes. And it may feel like, you want to be somebody else, but you have to look at yourself in this moment and say to yourself, I accept who I am, what I want to be. This is me. Go! And then you're like, look out, because here I come. And you're like paddling really fast. And I'm like sobbing because I'm like 3 months postpartum. Oh my God, it's so good. So that's my number 1.
Okay. It's not the correct order, but I'll take it.
Okay. So anyway, are we going to go see the Broadway show?
Is Jackman in it?
I mean, there's no actual Broadway show.
Oh.
Would you see it if Jackman was in it? What are the musts?
What are the?
See it?
I would love for. I didn't write the woman's name who played the bearded lady, but if she was in it,
something,
that would be ideal. Jackman's got to be in it.
Okay.
I can't see any other P.T. Barnum besides Jackman.
Yeah.
Could take or leave Michelle Williams, not because of her, because the role is nothing. Do you know? I will actually give you one of my. This isn't my trivia. This is my casting. Do you know who they had in mind?
For who?
For Jenny.
Who?
Anne Hathaway.
She'd be amazing.
It was like written for Anne Hathaway.
Oh, but I thought, it has to be Rebecca Ferguson, even though she didn't even sing in it.
That's what the other. Okay. The other actress, the actress who provided the singing voice, said that Rebecca Ferguson was great in the role.
She said no one could have done.
Yes.
What? Like for what?
The other people who were considered were Carey Mulligan and Elliot Page.
They would have been fine.
Elliot Page is a weird choice.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
For that role.
I agree. That would have been
Elliot
different...
Page would have worked better as the Michelle Williams character, I think.
I don't know. All I know is it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, I like Rebecca Ferguson, but it doesn't... The role of Jenny Lind doesn't matter.
Do you think that...
Anyone could have played that role.
Do you think that Jackman is irreplaceable or no?
No.
No, I think he is because of the context surrounding the movie.
Wait, no. I mean, he's not replaceable.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Completely agree.
No.
Jackman is completely irreplaceable.
Jackman is...
Keela Settle, is that her name?
Yeah. Something like that.
That just came to mind.
The bearded lady.
Yeah, Keela Settle. Keala. I don't know how you say your name. But, yeah, so...
I don't think she's... The only person, honestly, who's irreplaceable is Hugh Jackman.
No, but I think that she was great. And I think that
she's
a Broadway performer. So I think that would be ideal for me. But Jackman is completely irreplaceable.
100%.
Yeah.
Obviously I like Zac Efron. I love Zendaya. They're great. But
the whole
you
movie,
could have gotten somebody else to play them. I don't know.
The entire movie is superfluous, top to bottom, except for Hugh Jackman.
reason
No.
for any of it.
No.
But I loved it.
It's amazing. It's great. That's why we're doing it for our 50th movie.
So for me to see the Broadway show, baby, just get me there. I'm in. Okay, I might have like one more question. Let's see. Oh, is it weird that like sometimes I think of this as like an animated movie?
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Because it's not.
It's just my brain. And then lastly, who's your favorite character in this movie?
My favorite character in this movie, besides P.T. Barnum.
It could be him if you want it to be.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Barnum because he is like so incredibly dense.
It's Barnum because he's the only like
Dense
thing that matters in this movie.
Dense not as a character. I mean, he's an idiot.
Oh,
Like he doesn't understand anything going on around him, and everything just works out for him.
yeah.
Always, even when it doesn't, it ends up working out for him.
Yeah.
He ends up with his family. He ends up with his kids. He ends up with 40% less of the share of the circus. But he ends up friends with everybody. Everybody loves him. He's quote unquote learned his lesson, and he didn't do anything. He just saved Carlisle from a fire.
Really, honestly,
Which admittedly is brave, but also he literally looked at his kids and was willing to just be like, okay, you guys are going to grow up without a father because I have to run in to save this guy who I've known for a few months and we have a monetary relationship.
the other thing is I understand that on paper there's the whole, he learned the importance of family and that's what really matters. And
It's a Wonderful Life vibes.
But it's so... like, he doesn't actually do the heavy lifting to get there.
Again,
like,
everything happens
he's
to
just
him.
hanging out in Europe, and then he's like, I'm going to leave the tour because family's what matters. But it's like, what happened to make you think that?
But
nothing.
Nothing. What happened is Jenny left the tour, and he had nothing else to do.
That's true.
So he came home because he had nothing else to do.
He was like, I guess I'm just going to,
go
like
home and
my family again.
Yeah, it's like, I said it was like when Tom Brady retired the first time.
And he had to go home to his family. He's like, never mind.
Actually, I'm going back to football.
And now he has
no family.
He has his kids.
I know,
but,
I'm exaggerating. But
I agree. And also the bartender with no lines.
0 lines, but stole the show.
Stole the show.
100%. Bartender's irreplaceable.
Irreplaceable.
Get that guy.
He needs
Get
to
that
do
guy in
that.
the Broadway show.
He reminds me of one of the local coffee shops that we have.
Really?
Yeah,
Ooh.
like the logo in one of the coffee shops.
Oh, yes. yes. The mustache?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a few questions.
Okay.
Why does almost every movie waste Michelle Williams?
Every single one.
Is it her fault? I mean, to an extent, it has to be because
She's choosing roles.
She's choosing Venom, you know? So, like, why
it's
is
weird
it that...
to me, though.
It's got to be a mix, right?
It's weird to me, though, because, like, she still gets nominated for stuff.
Because she's Michelle Williams, and she's great, and she's good at everything she does.
But, like,
she's doing nothing.
Massively underused in Manchester by the Sea.
Yeah.
I didn't like her performance in The Fabelmans, to be honest with you.
I don't know if that's her fault or because the character's written weird.
Yeah, that was not my thing.
Yeah. I didn't really particularly love her in that either.
That being said,
well, I'm thinking
Blue Valentine was lit.
And she's good in Brokeback Mountain.
She is, but again, underused a little bit.
Yeah, but
it's not about her.
It's not really about her. Manchester by the Sea is more about...
Well, I think that's what it is. She chooses movies or
what about,
movies
was
that
she in
aren't
Shutter Island?
about her. Yeah.
She was Leo's wife
Yeah.
in Shutter Island.
That's the thing. She's always the, like, secondary tier.
She's always the wife or mom with little agency.
Right. And she does everything she can with that. But, like, when she can shine, like, in Blue Valentine.
She's amazing in Blue Valentine.
Amazing. That movie was amazing.
When we watched that, you told me it was, like, some movie that was, like, really hard to watch and, like, really gritty. And I was like,
heard
wasn't that.
that. Okay, I didn't know that.
It was a sad movie. Like, you know, it is what it is.
People were like, this movie devastated my life. And then I watched it, I was like, oh, it's kind of sad, but
yeah,
it's not.
I like it a lot, but it didn't hit me like that.
Yeah, that movie slapped. Also, Connie can't watch that till he's way older.
very, very, very long time. But, like, I don't even remember her in half of these movies. In All the Money in the World.
Yeah.
Synecdoche, New York. I don't even really remember her in. She was his, like, love interest in that? No, or was she one of the actresses? See, I don't even remember.
Hated that movie.
I love that movie. Yeah, I mean, she was in Species. I've seen Species.
She got famous from Dawson's Creek.
Yeah. But she was also in Halloween H2O 20 years later
That's awesome.
with LL Cool J.
All right, well, there's your Michelle Williams question of the day.
Yeah, and then she was in Venom, and Venom Let There Be Carnage, which, okay, you need to, take a paycheck. I'm all for it, but, whatever. I don't get it. She's amazing. And she was in Fosse Verdon,
Yes.
and that got good reviews. So,
She was Verdon.
Yeah, when she gets a chance to sort of prove herself, not even prove herself, just do her thing, she's usually, really well received, and she's great.
Yeah.
Just don't understand her choice in roles. It's Fassbender-esque. Not quite. I don't think it's quite. It's not quite as bad as Fassbender. Fassbender's in some stinkers.
She's still getting nominated for stuff.
Fassbender's in some stinkers, but I don't know. It's weird. It's just a weird gap between her talent level and the movies that she's in.
Not even that. It's
The Fabelmans. I think The Fabelmans. I can respect The Fabelmans. It just didn't really hit for me.
It's not even that, Tom. It's a difference between the types of roles that you would expect her to have versus her having to do the most to elevate the roles that she has.
Right.
So, she's getting nominated for bit parts in Manchester by the Sea. She's being nominated for an Oscar for that. Where, if you put anybody else in that role, it's like a 2-second role. That's very emotional, but, she's the one that brings it up to that next level. So she keeps choosing or is in these roles where, we would just, since we've seen a lot of her filmography, expect more starring roles, more kind of meaty parts, more screen time, which honestly, The Fabelman, she kind of is the lead, in my opinion.
The lead?
Female lead.
Yeah, definitely the female lead.
I know she's not, the lead is the kid.
Yeah, but that's different actors too. Wasn't it 2 different actors?
No.
There was the same kid in the beginning that was the kid at the end of the movie?
I don't know, Tom.
I'm pretty sure it was 2 different actors.
The main kid.
Yeah.
But whatever, c'est la vie.
She's also, I didn't realize, she was married to the guy who directed the productions of In the Heights and Hamilton.
Yeah, Thomas Kail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why did you say it like that?
You should know this, Tom.
I just said I didn't know it.
Well, you should.
Okay. So, rank your top 3 songs. I said, okay, so I wrote about the bartender. We have to talk about this bartender. He's doing extra. Is he the greatest bartender you've ever seen?
Let me think
about
that.
Cheers. Is he better than Woody Harrelson?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
What other bartenders do you know?
The bartender in Detroiters who gives them the beer bag,
Ew.
the paper bag to take out. Probably those 2. What's his name from The Simpsons?
Mo.
Are we going with this guy from Greatest Showman?
Yeah.
Who were the other? Was Ted Danson a bartender in Cheers?
Yeah, he's the owner, Sam.
Oh yeah.
How about the what don't you want, lady?
From Hell or High Water.
Yeah, she's a waitress, but I think she gives bartender energy.
Bartender energy for sure. Yeah, I'm probably gonna go with this guy who I don't have a name, never says a word, but he's got moves.
He's got moves.
Yeah, and he keeps it up with Jackman and Efron. He's up over it.
He shows him up.
He does.
My eyes go straight to Mr. Bartender.
Yeah.
I just wish there was a dog in that scene.
Yeah, there were surprisingly
right. Wouldn't you
few
want
dogs.
a dog to go meow at one point?
Surprisingly few dogs in this movie.
Yeah.
Is the Zac Efron Zendaya meet cute in this movie the greatest in the history of movies?
Oh, when she's flying and then
she goes up on the trapeze
and he's standing there and she's like,
and it's right in his face, and then she goes back down.
I mean, it's corny and dumb.
Answer the question.
I don't know. Are there better meet cutes?
Yeah, in any movie ever.
I don't remember any movie that has ever existed. You know, when you ask questions like that and you're like, what's a movie?
Yeah, what's a film?
Yeah, I'll say this is the best ever.
Okay, better than Friends with Benefits?
I don't remember what happened in that movie.
Neither do I. Better than
No, I have one.
Bridesmaids?
I was going to say Bridesmaids. I do love the Kristen Wiig one, but it's Melissa McCarthy and her real life husband in Bridesmaids.
Yeah.
When they meet on the plane and he's an air marshal. And
Ben
he says,
Falcone, is that his name?
And he's like, I'm not an air marshal. And then he is. That's my favorite meet
And she's
cute.
doing the weird thing with when he's at the bathroom.
Yeah.
And she
yeah.
puts her leg up on the wall.
Yeah.
Weird stuff, man.
That movie is amazing.
It is good.
That's my favorite meet cute.
Okay, so the question we're all asking Did Barnum cheat
Yes, on Jenny Lind. I was like
with
not
Jenny Lind?
sure. Or yeah, with
Yeah.
Jenny Lind on cheat on Chastity.
Charity.
Oh, Charity. The answer is yes.
A resounding probably.
Like IMDb, that's wrong.
I don't know. I'm gonna take Barnum's side here. He's a good guy.
Why else would Jenny be so mad?
Because she's obsessed with him.
That's
Because she loves Barnum.
It's
He makes everybody feel good.
Absolutely not.
All of his performers.
Absolutely not. That's the thing. Like
he kicks his performers out of the room and then they go sing the best song in the movie. he gets the best out of his people.
The performers are like, who? They're like, this man is not around. He is so weird.
He's embarrassed of us.
He literally doesn't. He told us to stay away.
He said his exact words was basically like, why would they come see you why would they pay to see you if they can see you and not pay or something like that? He's like, you guys got to be over there.
He's so mean. To me, like, just the way that Jenny Lynn's acting around him, while the entire other screen time she's had, she's just been very classy and nice and, hello, blah, blah, blah. Ooh, I'm Jenny Lynn. I'm a great singer. And then during that scene before she has to sing where she quits or whatever,
Yeah.
she's very mad.
What about the part where they're on the train and she falls asleep on his chest?
Yeah, well, what would that imply? I don't know.
It's an accident. It just happened that way, like.
And maybe that is an indication of what was to come.
I think that Barnum, I don't know, he gets himself caught up in these bad situations that it's not his fault.
What do you actually think?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He absolutely was cheating.
And then she sings like the Never Enough reprise and she's like so mad.
Yeah.
And then Barnum's like, uh-oh.
Gulp. I'm in danger.
And then it's like, oh, he's been so faithful to his wife. Like, no.
Yeah, I mean.
He's been in Europe for 3 months with her. No.
And it was like immediate. Like he brought her to the States and he was like, no. You and I are going back to Europe.
He's like, kids? Never heard of them.
What kids? Kids? Gonna run into a burning building later instead of hanging out with my kids. So,
like rescue Zac Efron for some reason. Not for some reason. Obviously, you'd rescue Zac Efron.
But he like literally looks at his family and he's like, I'm willing to give this up to go find this guy
that I've known for 2 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. So those are my questions. What's the best scene in this movie?
Oh, there's so many.
I think it's the first scene into
Enough A Million Dreams. I hate A Million Dreams. No, to me the best scene is the bar scene.
No, the bar scene's really probably my favorite.
The This Is Me scene and the last Greatest Show scene.
So none of the song. It's only the songs.
I only like the song. I'm not joking when I tell you like the actual like non-singing parts. I'm like, why does this exist?
Yeah. So I'm gonna look at my discussion. I also wrote this movie has such a wild variance in quality between the songs and the actual movie.
But it's iconic.
Quote: Hugh Jackman thought, like, this is it. This is the one. This is the line right here. Men suffer more from imagining too little than imagining too much.
This man thought that this was his Oscar.
Remember who did he lose to at the Golden Globes?
I don't know.
Was he up for, he was up for a Globe for
Best Musical Comedy
Golden Globes
Actor
2018. But I remember him sitting there and like, it goes around, pans out to all of them. And like
despondent.
When it was James Franco for The Disaster Artist.
Oh, yeah.
And when he went up there with Tommy Wiseau, Hugh Jackman was crushed. Crushed. He thought this was it.
Guess what? Neither one of them was nominated for the Oscar, so there you go.
Did Daniel Kaluuya win that year? Oh, no, Gary Oldman won for Winston Churchill. But Kaluuya was nominated for Get Out for
comedy?
Musical or
that
comedy.
That was so random.
Yeah. Well, it was so they could get him in over Timothée Chalamet, Daniel Day-Lewis, Tom Hanks, and Denzel in drama.
Yeah.
In musical or comedy, it was Steve Carell for Battle of the Sexes, Ansel Elgort for Baby Driver, and Hugh Jackman for Showman, and Franco for Disaster Artist.
Yeah.
That's a much easier category.
You might even get a win out of that.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he literally thought this was his. This was gonna make him.
Not that he's already very famous, but
I mean, as like an artist.
Mhm.
When in reality, the same year Logan came out, and that's like one of his like
it's like
huge movies.
one of the best superhero movies. Even though I fell asleep,
I also wrote.
I was like, this movie's boring.
I
Except
also
when they
wrote-
go and get the sunglasses.
I also wrote huge jacked man.
Okay, so go ahead and tell that story.
So one of our friends who has not been on the podcast yet, but should soon, very soon, in college, he thought that Hugh Jackman was
A stage name.
like a pseudonym, and because it sounded like huge jacked man. And I don't know. That's it. I don't know what to say about that.
That's just one of those things where you just say it and you just let it ride.
And it's great. I wish it was true.
It's not true though.
Unfortunately, not.
Huge jacked man. The best.
Somebody said this too. I didn't write who said this. You don't need everyone to love you, just a few good people.
These lines are so.
That sounds like charity.
Sounds like I'm like, all right, just sing another song.
The segment when why did I write Phineas? When Barnum is on tour with Jenny and falling in love, and it keeps going back to Michelle Williams toiling with their children, is literally Walk Hard.
Walk Hard.
We were just watching Walk Hard the other day, and it's like John C. Reilly's off doing his thing, and Kristen Wiig is his wife, and they have like 7 kids, and she's like juggling them all, and he's just out singing with
Jenna Fisher,
Jenna Fisher, and just cheating on her and the whole thing. And it's like, that's Walk Hard.
They stole from Walk Hard.
10 years prior, Walk Hard was parodying this exact type of movie.
And Greatest Showman was like, let's do that.
Yeah, listen, they had it right. They had it right in Walk Hard.
Parody for a reason.
The Dewey Cox story. No idea why she takes him back. He does nothing to earn it besides visit her like 2 days later. I mean, earns nothing.
Nothing.
Extremely unprofessional of Barnum to put Carlisle on the spot and leaving in the middle of the show. He had no time to warm up his vocals. No time for like the hamstring stretches to practice the choreography. He really put him on the spot.
With Michelle Williams too, he doesn't even sing a song to get her back.
No.
Like, at least give me a song. Maybe in a Million Dreams reprise.
Yeah, you would think.
You're my one dream.
Call back to the beginning.
No.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, you're going to take me back.
He was like, nice scarf, lady. That's all I got for that. Let's see. No Roger Ebert review, unfortunately.
No.
All right.
He would have given it a 2.
Ish. Changing trivia a little bit. We're going to shorten it.
That sounds good.
I'm going to go with Tom's top 5 trivia.
Doo-doo-doo.
All right. You ready?
Yeah.
My 5 tidbits.
Why wouldn't you make it 2?
What do you mean?
Tom's top 2 trivia.
Because I wanted to do 5.
Okay.
Number 5. I'm not really ranking them. It's just we're going to do 5 to 1.
Okay.
James Mangold, who directed Hugh Jackman in Kate and Leopold, The Wolverine, and Logan, was brought in by the studio to oversee a week of reshoots and post-production because the studio was concerned that director Michael Gracie would be overwhelmed by the scale of the production. Mangold was given an executive producer credit as a result, and as a tribute to Logan, the end credit card having Mangold's name has Wolverine claws engraved on all 4 corners of it.
Ugh.
So that's cool. Why? That's
like,
cool.
Okay.
Said thanks, brother. In the early 80s, John Landis, who is a horrible person, was planning to make a biopic about P.T. Barnum with John Belushi in the lead.
This is a Greatest Show.
And the script written by Bill Lancaster. He wanted to show Barnum's talent of being a businessman and inventing modern show business, but also showing him as a charlatan. For example, when he was selling pink-colored water, which was used for dyeing costumes, as pink lemonade from Paris for a nickel in Mississippi.
They probably like poison people.
Yeah, probably. And after the movie, also weird tie-in with Zac Efron, after the movie Neighbors 1981 came out.
Yeah, not the Zac Efron.
Not the same. And did not do well. The box office, at the box office, the studio just didn't make the Barnum movie. They were like, we're good, Johnny L. 3. When Barnum tries to persuade Carlisle to join his circus, Barnum says that Carlisle has a flair for show business. The scene originally ran longer, with Carlisle remarking that he doesn't know what show business means, to which Barnum responds that that's because he just invented it.
There are so many other things that could have been added to this movie to make it make sense.
That line was in the trailer. But
Oh,
it got
really?
cut. Yeah. And that was like the line of the trailer. Like, because I just invented show business or whatever. But
And then it's like, nah, cut it.
yeah. Among Barnum's quote-unquote freaks, the film portrays Asian conjoined twins. The actual twins were Chang and Eng Bunker, two brothers born in Siam, which is modern-day Thailand, and their heritage was the basis of the term Siamese twins. Chang and Eng retired after their life in Barnum Circus to North Carolina, got married, and had 11 children and 10 children, respectively. However, they became destitute after the Civil War and never went on tour again. They both died in 1874, Chang from a brain blood clot and Eng from heart failure or shock. The sources differ, merely 3 hours later.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting story.
Yeah. And finally, the most thoughtful one. Zac Efron said that his kiss with Zendaya is his favorite movie kiss of all time.
Aww.
And Zendaya agreed.
Aww.
Zac Efron also joked that his kiss with Dwayne Johnson in Baywatch was his favorite.
That's
So
funny.
that's Tom's top 5 trivia for The Greatest Showman.
That's very good. Good job.
Yeah, I mean, the impossible came true with this one. Yeah, do you have anything else?
No.
Does The Greatest Showman make Baby's first watch list?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
It's the best.
Yeah. I mean, it's horrible, but it's so good. I think this movie might be better if it wasn't about. No, it's better because it's about Barnum, and
'Cause it's just so dumb.
it's not accurate at all.
Right.
Um,
That's the charm.
what's your takeaway?
My takeaway is if you're in trouble, the lines aren't hitting, start a song, baby. Whenever our kid is like sad, we put on the Whopper song.
Literally today, he was screaming for hours and hours and hours, and I put on the 2-minute 30-second Whopper song, full song, on YouTube.
Passed out.
Threw him on my shoulder. By the 4th time through, he was passed out.
Yep.
So that's it for him.
When in doubt, play a song. That's my
Yeah.
takeaway.
Mine would be, I don't know.
Wow, Tom, you can't even come prepared.
This is the greatest show. No, I mean, well, my thing would be if you have a passion project, pursue it.
Yeah, my other one is this. You can really love something even if you think it's bad.
Yeah, sure.
For example, I think The Greatest Showman is bad, and I love it. I don't think the songs are bad.
No, the songs are great.
I don't think the choreography's bad. I don't even think the performances are bad. I just think the movie's bad.
Yeah, well, honestly,
But I love it.
my other takeaway is don't let them break you down to dust. I know that there's a place for you. For you are glorious.
It's me and my foot.
Yeah, exactly. Even when the sharpest words want to cut you down. This is you.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is The Greatest Showman. That's our 50th episode. Our 50th movie. We've done more than 50 episodes.
Something crazy.
Yeah. So here's what we're gonna do. If you haven't seen on Instagram, next week we're going to do Field of Dreams for our Father's Day
Never
episode.
saw it.
Never saw it. It hits everything. It's a dad movie. It's a sports movie. It's a father-child movie, from what I understand. It's everything. It hits the perfect Father's
Classic
Day.
line.
Yeah, it's the perfect Father's Day movie. It seems like Costner's in it. I mean,
Nothing wrong with that.
there are few more dad actors than Kevin Costner.
He's the dad.
He's
actor.
up there. Hanks is up there. Eastwood's up there. But Costner's he's probably on the Mount Rushmore. After that, we're going to do our 1-year sort of reflection retrospective episode. And we want to do sort of a Q&A. So either on Instagram, I'm going to be posting like a way for you to ask questions if you have any. I don't know what you would ask about.
Doesn't
but like,
need to be
make
movie related.
No, not at all. It could be parenting related. It could be anything related.
Could be like, what's your hair color?
Yeah, exactly. And we're going to answer them.
What'd you think
Answer
about?
them all.
What'd you think about the end of Ted Lasso?
Exactly. Didn't see it.
We didn't watch it, but I can give you an opinion.
Yeah, so you can do that, or we set up, if you don't have Instagram, we set up an email address, which I didn't tell you about. I set up an email address, babiesfirstwatchlist@gmail.com. So anytime from now for the next 2 weeks, feel free to ask us some questions.
Or just text us.
Or we'll do whatever you want, whichever way you can reach us. yeah, so there's that, and then
Or call me on a FaceTime in a panic.
and then ask the question.
Yeah.
And then finally, the last week of the month, we're going to do the Birdcage for Pride Month.
Woo.
Yeah.
Saw that either.
Never saw that either, but it's one of my dad's favorite movies. It's got Robin Williams, Nathan Lane, Gene Hackman.
Good cast.
A 90s crew, for sure.
Love it.
Another
dad actor, Gene Hackman.
Yeah. Oh, Robin Williams, too.
Mm-hmm.
Nathan Lane. I mean, all three of them. All three of them are.
Who doesn't like Lion King?
Yeah, seriously. Who doesn't love Mouse Hunt?
Uh.
Yeah, so that's that. That's The Greatest Showman. That's our next month. So, yeah, we will see you next week for the Father's Day episode of Field of Dreams.
It's everything you ever want. It's everything you ever need. It's here right in front of you. This is where you wanna be.
See you later.
Bye.